What's the first thing I remember? It must be Papa, calling out my name. Ireena! He'd shout whenever I wandered too far away from his side. When I was little, I thought he was just being silly. Now I know what he felt. He was afraid. It's not that my childhood was hurt. The villagers tipped their caps to Papa and called him Burgomaster. I lived in a fine house with a father and brother who loved me. Yet, something was missing. Something I can't describe or explain. As grateful as I am for my family and my home, sometimes, at night, I can't help but feel that none of it is mine. I grew up here in the village, in shabby old Barovia. And ever since I can remember, its people have never seemed quite right to me. Papa burned bright with life, my brother Ismak too. But the others in the village, most of them just flickered, as if they were barely there. Castle Ravenloft looks down on the village, watching us all. As a girl, I always wondered who lived up in that splendid building on the hill. But when I asked the grown-ups about the castle, they told me to mind my business, or else I'll bring the curse of the demon Strahd down upon us. I had so many questions, but I learned not to ask. Not to ask why the doors were barred at night. Not to ask why I couldn't go into the forest. Not to ask what had happened to my friends who vanished without a trace. Always stay close to your home, little one, they told me. And fear the devil Strahd above all. Sometimes, at night, I dream of a world of light. A world where the sun blazed like a bonfire instead of hiding behind the mists. In my dream, I'd walk through the warm sunlight to a little pond. Suddenly, I'd realize that someone was missing. Someone who was supposed to be there. And then I would wake up to the cold and the dark. One day when I was grown, I went to the marketplace to buy some lamb for dinner. There I was, chatting away with the butcher, when I suddenly realized that everyone else had gone silent. They were all staring at a tall man in expensive clothes who had just arrived in the square. And this man, he was staring at me. That was the first time I saw Count Strahd von Zarovich. The night after I went to the marketplace, the Count himself appeared at our door. He called me Tatyana, said he'd come to see me. Papa and Ismak were terrified. I was not. This was the demon that kept the entire valley paralyzed with fear. He looked just like a man to me. But then, Strahd looked at me. I saw the blazing hunger in his eyes. And then, I remember no more. Later, they told me that Strahd bit me, like an animal. I have no memory of this, though the holes in my flesh showed it was true. I remember only darkness, and dreams where I ran and then fell. When I awoke, they told me I had been in a fit that lasted for 3 days. Papa said he thought I would die. Then he bit me a second time. Our neighbors tell me that Strahd came here, but I don't remember it, and neither does Papa or Ismak. I just remember waking up on the floor with blood on my neck and the front door open. What can be done to defend against this kind of dark magic? I could see that Papa was afraid, and not just of Strahd. People in the village started to whisper that they did not want me here. but I would not leave Papa. I would not leave our home. I vowed that Strahd would not have me, and Papa agreed. To keep the demon at bay, we barricaded ourselves inside our home. So Strahd sent his servants for us instead. Night after night, the wolves came and beat against our door. Their howls kept us awake until we thought we would go mad from lack of sleep. Papa died on the 7th night. His heart couldn't take the strain, poor thing. Ismak and I thought that Strahd would surely attack in force, but no wolves came that night. And indeed, no wolves have come since. Maybe Strahd is giving us time to bury our dead, treating us like honored opponents on the battlefield. Or maybe he knows he has already won. Now, we wait. We wait for Strahd to come a third time. We wait for the darkness to take me at last. Ismak has given in to despair since Papa's death. He says he does not believe Strahd can ever be stopped. I try to be more optimistic, but it becomes harder with each day. One thing I know for certain. If I am to resist Strahd, I cannot do it alone. Last night I dreamed of the light again. This time a man stood in the sun by the pond. A man I had never seen before. He held up his hand, and in it was a sword that blazed with light. He told me that night was ending, and help would come with the dawn. When I woke up, it was still dark, and I could hear the wind howling outside. But this time, I could feel a warmth within me. A light that refused to go out. I had a dream once when I was a girl. In it, I prayed to the Morning Lord to show me my love. Then from the east came a great bird, an eagle flying on wings of blinding light, soaring high above the mountains. Just as this beautiful creature was about to land at my feet, I woke up. And when I woke, I wept. I knew at once this dream was about the man I would marry someday. And so I waited for my love, biding my time with the distractions of the young, dances and parties and long summer afternoons lazing in the sunshine. Then Strahd von Zorevich arrived in Barovia. He came as a conqueror, at the head of a vast army. He saw our valley and decided to stay. He even began building a castle as splendid as any in the Vistani stories. And people wondered, what would make such a man linger here, so deep in the mountains? He saw me in the village during the market fair. From that day on, Strahd pursued me. Oh, he was very proper and polite. He said all the right things to Mama and Papa and the bishop. But I could see from the very start that he meant to make me his. Of course I was impressed with Strahd. Who wouldn't be? He had seen and done so much. And he was so mysterious, disappearing for weeks at a time to who knows where. Yet, when I looked at Strahd, I saw a conqueror, a builder, a ruler. As hard as I looked, I couldn't see the shining eagle from my dream. Strahd invited me to his castle, and it was magnificent. And yet I had no eyes for Strahd or his castle. Only for the one I first met there. Sergei von Zarovich. He'd come from afar to live with his brother and found me instead. It wouldn't do for us to be seen together anywhere near the castle, so Sergei and I used to meet at a little shrine out near the abbey, and watched the summer sunlight dance on the waters of the pool. They were brothers, but they could not have been more different. Sergei was everything Strahd was not. Sergei was warm, open, young. Strahd was remote, unyielding, and older. Sergei would joke and flirt, while Strahd just lectured. When news of their mother's death arrived, Sergei wept openly before everyone in the castle hall. Strahd fled to his chambers to sulk. Is it a surprise that I was drawn to the younger brother? So we fell in love. They say that love is complicated, but ours, was as simple and as sure as the sunrise. Sergei was my light, and I was his. So we arranged to be married. Mama was happy. Papa was happy. The bishop was happy. Strahd was not. Everyone could see that Strahd was unhappy with our engagement. I tried to talk to him. I told him that he would always be part of our lives. I called him brother. He fled without saying a word, his face as dark as night. When he learned that Sergei and I were engaged, Strahd vanished for many days. No one knew where he went, only that he rode far to the west. I was too busy preparing for the wedding to think of what this might mean. The night before my wedding, I had another dream. In it, I prayed to the morning lord to show me my love. And from the west flew a great beast. A huge black creature, so large that its wings blotted out the sun. Darkness spread over the mountains and the valleys, covering them in eternal night. I tried to forget my dream. After all, it was my wedding day. So I put on my dress and began to do my hair. Then a servant came, tears streaming down her eyes. When I asked her what was wrong, she told me that Sergei had been killed. I asked the servant who had killed him, though I was already sure of the answer. Strahd, she said, her voice filled with fear. And in my heart, I could feel the beating of black wings. So I wait for Strahd to come. The light of my life is gone forever. The monster who killed him has every advantage. Wealth, power, an entire army at his command. Still, I must remember that I control my own fate. He's coming now. I can hear the guards shouting in the stairwell. When I look down over the wall, I can see nothing below but mist. And I'm afraid. I don't deny it. But I am certain of one thing. Strahd will never have me.
I am the Ancient. I am the land. My beginnings are lost in the darkness of the past. I was the warrior. I was good and just. I thundered across the land like the wrath of a just god. But the war years and the killing years wore down my soul as the wind wears stone into sand. All goodness slipped from my life. I found my youth and strength gone, and all I had left was death. My army settled in the valley of Barovia and took power over the people in the name of a just god, but with none of a god's grace or justice. I called for my family, long unseated from their ancient thrones, and brought them here to settle in the castle Ravenloft. They came with a younger brother of mine, Sergei. He was handsome and youthful. I hated him for both. From the families of the valley, one spirit shone above all others, a rare beauty who was called perfection, joy, and treasure. Her name was Tatyana, and I longed for her to be mine. I loved her with all my heart. I loved her for her youth. I loved her for her joy. But she spurned me. Old One was my name to her. Elder and brother also. Her heart went to Sergei. They were betrothed. The date was set. With words she called me brother. But when I looked into her eyes, they reflected another name. Death. It was the death of the aged that she saw in me. She loved her youth and enjoyed it, but I had squandered mine. The death she saw in me turned her from me, and so I came to hate death. My death. My hate is very strong. I would not be called death so soon. I made a pact with death, a pact of blood. On the day of the wedding, I killed Sergei, my brother. My pact was sealed with his blood. I found Tatyana weeping in the garden east of the chapel. She fled from me. She would not let me explain. And a great anger swelled within me. She had to understand the pact I made for her. I pursued her. Finally, in despair, she flung herself from the walls of Ravenloft. And I watched everything I ever wanted fall from my grasp forever. It was 1,000 feet through the mists. No trace of her was ever found. Not even I know her final fate. Arrows from the castle guards pierced me to my soul. But I did not die. Nor did I live. I became undead forever. I have studied much since then. Vampire is my new name. I still lust for life and youth, and I curse the living that took them from me. Even the sun is against me. It is the sun and its light I fear the most. But little else can harm me now. Even a stake through my heart does not kill me, though it holds me from movement. But the sword... that cursed sword that Sergei brought... I must dispose of that awful tool. I fear and hate it as much as the sun. I have often hunted for Tatyana. I have even felt her within my grasp. But she escapes. She taunts me. She taunts me! What will it take to bend her love to me? I now reside far below Ravenloft. I live among the dead, and sleep beneath the very stones of this hollow castle of despair. I shall seal shut the walls of the stairs, that none may disturb me.